The First Dance by Parker Avrile. Narrated by Terrence Clowe. The First Dance. 18 wasn't too young. Reed wasn't going to be able to use that excuse anymore. It was even a little shaky last year when they attended the dreaded junior prom. He and Bobby had each picked a girl from the gospel church, the one where the preacher was famous for thundering, "You'd go to hell if a hand so much as grazed a bare boob. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. He'd figured those girls for a safe bet. Desiree, Reed's girl, was actually the preacher's daughter, so he figured her for doubly safe. Bobby's girl worked out all right, or so he said a couple days later. A hand-holder. Sweet girl. Desiree wasn't so sweet. She said there was a second party, a better one, and by better, she meant one where alcohol was served to 17-year-olds. What about Linda? Reed had asked. Fuck Linda. Did the preacher know how Desiree's vocabulary changed at night? Because Reed, sure as shit, had known. Well, what about Bobby? He needed a ride home up the mountain, and Reed and Bobby had worked on the beat-up old van together. It was theirs, not Reed's alone. Even though it had to be registered in somebody's name and address, and Reed was the one with the parents and an address in town, so that name was Reed's. Done any other way, the already too expensive insurance would have been impossible. Bobby Mason can take care of himself for 2 fucking hours. The party at a house with nobody's parents at home was exactly the degree of awkward Reed expected. There was a punch bowl of pink gasoline they called jungle juice, a tongue-curling blend of discount vodka, white rum, sugar syrup, and several packets of tropical punch-flavored powder that colored it the perfect shade of puce. The final credits of a slasher movie ran across the widescreen TV, soon followed by an even more gruesome one. Girls turned their faces into guys' chests, digging their heads in, hiding their eyes. The guy's arm would wrap around her to keep her safe. Of course, some partygoers had already progressed beyond the protecting her eyes stage of the game. The older couples, the ones who weren't juniors at the high school and thus not allowed to attend the prom, had been drinking and humping for hours. Discarded bits of clothing were scattered all over the floor. This isn't what I planned on. Reed clutched his red Solo cup full of syrup-thick alcohol in his fist, but seldom raised it to his lips. I've got to be able to drive back and pick up Bobby and Linda. Bobby and Linda are doing exactly the same thing somewhere else, Desiree said. They don't need a fucking babysitter. Maybe. Bobby called what Reed and Bobby did practice, and not just because they'd formed a 2-piece band. They were fuck buddies, learning how their bodies worked. 2 high testosterone guys needed to blow off some steam and have some fun while they figured things out. That's what Bobby said, and Reed supposed he might be right. It didn't feel right to Reed. It felt like more. But Bobby's grandparents said experimenting with your best friend was a natural stage that you grew out of. They thought he was cute. Bobby thought he was convenient. So maybe Desiree was right. Bobby and Linda might be humping right now. Ugh, what a thought. Desiree got busy trying to validate all those jokes she'd heard over the years about wild-ass preacher kids. Her hand was already kneading his package through his formal black slacks. The hell? She couldn't possibly already be drunk. 1 sip and she was crawling all over.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?